countdown to Election Day continues, and welcome back to Local Decision 2024 here on North Metro TV. I'm Eric Nelson, and joining us is Laura Gannon. She's running for school board in the Centennial District. And Laura, we appreciate you coming by, and we always get out of the gate by asking the candidates to tell the viewers a little bit about themselves and why you want to be on the board.
Yeah, so my background is I am an engineer. So I have had a really good education experience. There were a lot of teachers and coaches and tutors helping me get through the school system. And, I went to college. So education is extremely important to me. I value it highly. So the reason I want to be on the board is I want to give all of our students the same kind of chances that I got through my schooling. I want to make sure that they have accurate science. Evidence-based science is really important to me as an engineer. I really understand how if you don't have that, you can be really behind if you want to go into a STEM career. And I encourage all of our students to take advantage of the math and science classes and get involved in that, because there's just so much in the future for them in that kind of career. So that's just part of it. I'm also very analytical with data. So I think that I would bring to the school board maybe something different with a technology background and being data-minded. I might have a different perspective on how we spend the budget or what new programs we bring that are there to serve our students in that STEM pathway.
Are there other things in your background, on your resume, that you feel qualifies you for being on the board?
Yes. So I have also done project management stuff. I've led design teams. I've worked with a really diverse group of people with fellow engineers. So I have had to work with people who are difficult. I've had to work with people who need encouragement to speak up. And so I've worked with all types, and I'm very good at collaborating with a team and getting a result. And so I think that I could also bring that to the table. I've also had to manage budgets for different projects, so I am aware of how we spend our money. I started my career in the defense industry, so I am very aware of how we spend our tax dollars. I would be a very good steward of keeping people's tax money in mind when we're spending. It's important not to waste what we get. And so that's a whole another side of it.
Do you have kids in the Centennial School District?
I have two children. One is 14 and in Centennial High School. The other is 5 at Golden Lake Elementary School.
So you're literally, you've got a dog in the race, as they say.
Yes.
What do you think are the top needs in the Centennial School District?
So top needs. So obviously, since COVID, kids have been behind all over the nation. So we really need to bring our kids' skills back up. So with that, there's a lot of support needed, especially for kids who may have disabilities that need attention. Something I read was that girls specifically, but also boys, their brains grew 4 times what the normal rate is over COVID. Boys also did, but it wasn't nearly 4 times as much. And it's caused them to have a lot of anxiety and depression when they went back to school, because it was all caused by missing that social aspect. So I really feel that we need to support our kids in many areas besides just academic. Now, most people want to argue that the parents should provide that, and I do agree, but not all parents have those resources to help them. And when they don't, the school does a great job of picking up that. The other side that I've seen a lot is bullying. So this affects just about almost every student out there. I've talked to a lot of parents and students about the bullying problem. And it's just really unfortunate. I think we need to build empathy in our students in a way that we probably didn't have to before, right? Again, during COVID, kids just had to think about themselves, really, and what was going on in their house, and that was enough of a stressor. And they didn't get to build those social skills of building empathy. So I think we really need to focus on that, because it shows that if we can decrease bullying in the schools, we can decrease the chances of gun violence happening in our schools. And that's another thing that parents worry about every day. You know, I know that I worry, is this going to be the day that it happens at my child's school? I certainly hope not, but that is just one great variable we could work on. So bullying is very much an issue. The other issue is that we don't have great funding for our school because we're a tax-poor district. And so we really need to talk to our legislators more about getting more equal spending across the districts. So that's something I am also willing to work on as well.
Yeah, and the cuts of bullying are deep, aren't they?
Yes.
I mean, the repercussions can extend, you know, for many years beyond. So how do you convince a bully to stop bullying?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it has to do with what that bully is going through, right? Somebody who is healthy and mentally secure is not going to just go and bully the person sitting next to them, right? Usually when bullies bully, it's because they are making up for something that they feel like they don't have, and they feel insecure. And the way to combat that insecurity is to make someone else feel more insecure than them. So I think really we should be addressing why do you feel the need to bully? What are you feeling insecure about? How can we help you to feel more secure about being yourself, and not have you cutting down other kids, right? So I know when I was a kid, I got bullied. I think it's pretty much something you always go through. But this day and age, the bullying is not just in the hallways. It doesn't end when you go home, right? You can still see it online. My child's gotten phone calls where people bark on the line at her, and she has no idea who they are, how they got her phone number. So, you know, it happens in the Discord servers. All the schools have Discord servers. They're not school sanctioned, but the kids put them together, and it happens there. So, you know, it's not like they get a break from it. At least when I was a kid, I could go home and no one was going to bully me there.
You had a safe space.
Yeah, exactly.
What you know, Centennial is a diverse school district. You have a lot of kids from a lot of different backgrounds. How do you meet all their needs? Yeah,
so I think right now they're meeting them pretty well with supports of, you know, if you've got like ADHD or autism, that stuff's being met. Right now we have a pretty big shortage on having in-school counselors that could really help with that. That would be, if we could increase the amount of counselors, that would definitely help meet the needs of more of our students, right? The other thing I had thought about was, what if we had some groups at the school where they could meet after school and talk about problems, you know, with each other. Like if you can have peer support to talk about your issues and be engaged in the person next to you who maybe not be in the same class as you or even in the same friend group, you could build that empathy for another person who's not like you. So I think that would also be a way that we could help serve more students.
I know a wedge issue these days is teachers referring to students by preferred pronouns. Where do you land on that?
Well, I don't, okay, so this is kind of how I look at it. I don't care what kind of pronoun is, I don't really care about the pronoun issue, right? I want the child to be comfortable, and so if they prefer a certain pronoun or a name, I'm fine with that. Call them that name, call them that pronoun. Let's get them comfortable being in the classroom so that they can focus on their studies, right? Yeah, pronouns, we can all adjust to that. Some people will disagree with me on that, but I mean, if it's up to the child's comfort, if they're going to sit there and think about how many times you called them the wrong pronoun during class, that's really interrupting their learning time. So if we can just get on board and, you know, get them back to focusing on the class.
All right, your core curriculum, you know, reading,
Yeah.
writing, math, things like that. I'm sure you want that to be strong, but what about other things like arts or history, or about history of the U.S. that isn't always flattering about this country? How do you feel about all that?
So for history, that's not always flattering. I think we should cover it, right? We should cover the parts of our history that are not great. We need to learn from that so that we don't repeat those bad decisions, right? History is there to learn from. If we can't learn from it, then our future could be pretty bleak, right? So I really think we should be covering accurate history and not just gloss over things. As far as the arts, I really support that. I was a theater kid, a band kid, and you know, I'm an engineer, but those things really build creativity, and that's something that our kids are going to need in the future for their workplace. You know, new ideas don't come from a lack of creativity. It comes from having that imagination and engaging and really pulling that creative muscle. So the arts all help with that.
Yeah, and you talked about the gun issue. Active shooter drills are now routine, and you know, I think a lot of people think, well, that should not be the norm. If you had the ears and the eyes of a lawmaker, what would you tell them from the student's perspective? Are kids worried? We had this situation in Georgia right at the start of the school year.
So I would tell them that I talked to a student recently who has to gauge which bathroom to use and how long to be in the bathroom before they have to get back into the classroom so that they have enough cover if there was an active shooter in the hallway. Now, in your workplace, as a legislator, do you have to worry about how long you take to use the restroom, which one you use, and which has the most cover in case an active shooter came into your building? I don't think so. I know that I don't worry about that at work, you know, and so to hear that from a child was very devastating to me. And you know when those drills happen because the kids come home and they are upset because it's a reminder of what can happen, you know. So I know my youngest had a drill yesterday, and it was a whole drill, but they didn't really tell the kids in the classroom much about it, but she was kind of off when I got home. And this is my 5-year-old, and I'm just like, what's going on? You're not normally like this. And she didn't mention it, but I do know that happened that day. So, so that could have been part of it. They were really talking about safety a lot too. So.
Test scores.
Test scores.
They've not gone back to pre-pandemic levels. I know that it's been an uphill climb. Are you concerned about this? Is it something you can solve?
I am concerned about it for sure, because it means that our kids aren't being prepared for their future, right? I don't know if I can solve it in the next 2 years or 4 years, but I can say that we can keep working on it, right? We can search for solutions to help bring this up to speed to where it was pre-pandemic, at least, and continue building on that. I am very worried about my kids' future because the test scores aren't great, right?
Yeah.
They really missed out on a lot. So, whether that's getting more time in the classroom or more tutoring available for them, I think part of this too is just getting funding from legislation to have all these great things happen, right? We can have a lot of great ideas, but if we don't have the funding to do that, then, our kids' scores aren't going to go up as much as maybe they could be if we had the proper funding for the right programs to help.
All right,
So,
before we wrap up,
sure.
tell the viewers why they should put you on the school board.
Yeah, I think you should put me on the school board because I have a vested interest in our schools. I have one child in high school, one who just started. So I am in this district for a while. I am used to thinking outside the box. So, a lot of these hard problems that we have, I can help bring a solution to. I can collaborate. I'm willing to listen. You may not agree with me, and that's fine. I am still willing to listen to everything you have to say and take it into consideration. So I want to do what's best for our kids and for our community. So I'm very vested in that, and I think these are all great reasons to vote for me, but also I've kind of got this different tech industry look at things as well, and I think that's valuable because our kids are going to need it.
All right. Well, thank you, Laura.
Sure.
All right. She's Laura Gannon, running for school board in the Centennial District, and this is Local Decision 2024.